Thank you very much. Thank you for having me. This is a really great meeting. I'm very happy to be here. My name is Chris. I'm from Assay Depot. So, who am I? In the spirit of full disclosure, I am one of the co-founders and currently the CIO of Assay Depot, which means I'm pretty much in charge of the software development effort, which leads me to my next one. I'm a software developer by training and by career choice. And I wouldn't normally mention that, except that's sort of code for go easy with any science questions for me. What I'd like to do is tell you a little bit about Assay Depot's platform, what we do, and how that pertains to systems biology. So first, what is Assay Depot? Assay Depot is a marketplace for pharmaceutical research services, which is a little bit of a mouthful. When I tell my friends what we do, they sort of look at me quizzically. One thing we like to say is we're like Amazon for the pharma industry. It's actually probably more accurate to say we're like Amazon for the pharma services industry. So we're a marketplace, which means we don't actually perform any research services ourselves. We have vendors who offer services on our site. We have well over 650 vendors on our site so far, or who are actually using the platform. Those vendors offer services, and we'll get to what those services are in a minute, to research customers worldwide. Researchers in pharma, researchers in biotech, and academics. So that's great. I think marketplaces are fantastic for obvious reasons. I think they bring efficiencies to industries. But that's not really what drives us. Nobody wakes up in the morning and says, I'm going to bring efficiency to this industry. What drives us is we want to help scientists make breakthrough discoveries, which is kind of a very broad statement. So what does that really mean? Well, it's two things. It means two things to me anyway. One is we try to offer a huge number, a very broad selection of services on our site. Our goal is to offer every preclinical service that under the sun, pretty much everything up until you put a potential new drug into a human. And by doing that, we offer these small esoteric services that might have been hard to find otherwise, in addition to more routine assays. Our goal is to enable researchers like yourself, researchers everywhere across the world, to find these smaller esoteric services and supplement their own existing research with those services to get data that they wouldn't have otherwise gotten. We think that will help researchers make those discoveries. The second thing we like to say is we try to remove the routine from research. So you guys know better than I do that during a research project, there's all sorts of assays, all sorts of experiments you have to run on a daily or weekly basis. These are experiments that are taking time away from some of the more cutting edge research that you could be doing, things that would research that differentiates you and your project from other projects. We like to help researchers externalize services like that. You can often find very inexpensive and fast, high-quality vendors on our site for those more routine assays. And those are the two ways that we like to believe that we help researchers make these discoveries. So how does this apply to systems biology? Well, like I said, we try to offer a huge variety of services. We offer everything from early biological assays all the way through animal models, everything up until you put it into a human. So we've categorized this into well over 1,000 different types of research, well over 1,000 different areas of research that are on the site. For today, I've picked out 4 that will hopefully be of interest to people who come to this meeting. Those 4 are next-generation sequencing services, expression profiling services, DNA services, and RNA services. So what I'd like to do is sort of take you through how you would find these on the site. I wasn't sure if I'd have a live internet connection, so I sort of put some slides together. But this is assaydepot.com. If you have a smartphone or a computer or an iPad, you can go there right now. It's all live. I'm just doing this because live demos are bad for my heart. So this is the front page of Assay Depot. You can see across the bottom we have 5 different disciplines. We have biology, chemistry, DMPK, pharmacology, and toxicology. And we've tried to categorize all of the services that we offer into these 5 disciplines. So being a systems biology meeting, we're going to be probably interested in biology. So let's pretend I clicked on that. That brings you to what we call the biology store. You can see that we take biology and we try to break it down into 10 major categories, and each one of those categories is further broken down into between 8 and 15 subcategories. You can see there's everything from cell adhesion, flow cytometry, hopefully everything that you could possibly want. I've highlighted before that we talked about a second ago, expression profiling, next-gen sequencing, those and the like. So let's pretend, let's go to next-gen sequencing. So what you see here is the category page. And what we're actually looking at right now are all of the vendors that we believe offer next-generation sequencing. So one of the things that we do, one of the values that we provide, is we have a team of people who are constantly scouring the web, going to conferences, they're signed up for every newsletter. They're constantly looking for any new vendor, they're constantly looking for any mergers that happen in the industry, any companies that get purchased, and they're constantly curating this database of vendors. And all of these vendors are categorized across all of those 1,000 plus subcategories that I mentioned earlier. So here we see that there's 105 vendors that offer next-generation sequencing. And if we were to go to expression profiling, we see that there's 88 results. So that's a lot of vendors. If we were to try to find all of those vendors on Google, just by virtue of the fact that there's nearly 100 here, you're already a couple of pages in. By the time you sort through the Wikipedia entry for expression profiling and all the spam sites and all that, you're going to be 30 pages in probably before you find most of these. So that's one of the things that we do. We've got this directory. It really acts like a white pages or a yellow pages for the industry. So this is online right now. If you need to find a company or if you need to find a vendor that offers something, please use it. It's free for researchers everywhere. But that's sort of like the foundation for what we really want to do. What we really wanted to do is offer services. So if I move on to the DNA services category here, what we're looking at is what we call a service. It's really a discrete piece of research that you can request a quote for or that you can actually purchase. And in this category, we've got 74 results. And these are all services that these vendors perform. Many of the vendors actually upload their catalogs, so you can find out exactly what they offer and how much it costs. And again, we've done this for every category. So if I were to move on to RNA services, we see that there's 36 results here. The first one is quantitative RT-PCR. I don't actually know what that means, but I'm assuming that you do. So yeah, there's 36 results in RNA services, and these are all discrete units of research that you can purchase or at least get a quote for. So I picked one sort of at random. It's a little off the screen at this point. I picked microRNA analysis. And if you click on that, just like if you click on any of the services on the site, you get more information. You can see that there's a description of what microRNA analysis is. On the right, there's a list of a few dozen vendors that offer this. And this page is helpful for somebody like me who doesn't know what microRNA analysis is. But if this was a more esoteric assay, a more esoteric service, you could find a PDF with the method on there. You could find sample data sheets. There's some services on our site that even have movies that describe what the service is, so you know what it is you're asking for. This is one of the more general services, so there's a couple of dozen vendors that offer it, but some of them are offered by a single vendor, and some of them even have a price, so you don't have to make a request to find out how much it would cost. All these services have that big orange button that says request info, which is fairly self-explanatory. That's how you initiate a request. When you click on that, you're presented with what we call the light box. It's just a dialog box. It comes up and asks you a couple of simple questions. The first question it asks is what's your request? In there, you could say, what's the turnaround time for a single microRNA analysis? I need it in a week. That would be an acceptable request. Or you could say, what would it cost if I had 50 samples that I needed analyzed? That's another very acceptable request. You can attach a file, if you have a protocol or something that you want them to follow. And then you can select the vendors. So you see here that there's, again, many dozen vendors. This is really important. This is a really important part of the system. You can immediately, with just a couple of clicks, send off this request to 1, 5, in some cases 50 vendors, and get an apples-to-apples comparison of what those vendors can provide for you. Some of these vendors, not all of them, but some of them are actually responding in literally 5 5 and 10 minutes. So you can get, maybe not you get the answer, but you can at least get a response very, very quickly. And what used to be a manual process of looking up a phone number and calling 3 vendors, and it used to take a lot of time, you can use our tools to manage these requests and get responses very quickly and hopefully easily. So that's our plan anyway. Anecdotally, we've seen huge price ranges. We had one of our friends is a chemist. He used the site and went out to a wide variety of chemistry vendors to get a custom service or a custom synthesis quote. We went out to 20 or 25 vendors, and I swear it was a 10x price difference. There was one vendor that came back at 5,000 and one vendor that came back at 50,000. So, you know, if you ever need a service, I encourage you to go wide. The tools make it relatively easy, and you can see, you know, huge cost savings that way. So that's really the demo portion of what I wanted to show. That's what we've sort of just scratched the surface of what you can do on the website, but that's probably the most important thing, the most popular thing people do on the website is they come, they can identify vendors, they can find services that they're offered, then they can communicate with those vendors. But before I finish up, I did want to share a couple of statistics about the platform. So I mentioned that we're constantly looking for vendors. We have many, many vendors in the system. We actually have over 4,500 vendors in the database. These are all vendors that offer preclinical services. So if it's just a clinical vendor, they only offer clinical services, that's not in there. It's only vendors that offer preclinical services. Of those 4,500 vendors, well over 600, in fact, I guess approaching 700 vendors are actually using the platform. Those are vendors that have actually, they've come in, they've responded to customers, they've communicated with customers. Some of them have gone so far as to load their catalog of services. And so far, with those catalogs, we have roughly 5,000 services on the site. So we're trying to offer every service under the sun. We're not quite there yet, but with 5,000, you can often find the service that you're looking for or something very close. And if you don't, please let us know, because that is our goal, is to make sure that you guys can find whatever it is that you need. And this is something that we're really particularly proud of. We're approaching 10,000 requests. So 10,000 times a scientist has asked a vendor for information or for a price quote. And the rate is just increasing, so we're hoping to hit our 10,000 requests in the next month or 2. So we're very excited about that. In preparation for this meeting, we did dig into those 10,000 requests just a little bit more. And we looked at the domain name of the email address of the user who inputted those requests. And then it wasn't very hugely scientific. We just looked at the domain name and we tried to figure out if that person was from pharma, biotech, or academia. And 62% of the requests came from pharma. That was a bit higher than I would have expected. I guess not entirely surprising, but it was higher than I expected. Only 17 from biotech, but a full 21% of the requests have come from academia. And we're very proud of that. One thing that we really want to do is we want to, what we say, level the playing field, in that we don't believe that, you know, just because a researcher works at a well-funded pharma company, that they should have access to services that an academic or that somebody in, say, another country have. We want everyone to have access to all the services under the sun, no matter where they are or where they work. And we're looking to increase that number, so please get out there and make requests. And another piece of that we're particularly proud of is that these requests come in from all over the world. This map is actually just a single one. But over the course of those 10,000 requests, we've actually served requests from over 50 countries. I think the last count was 53 different countries had come into the system and actually input a real request to a vendor and gotten responses. So that's pretty much what I wanted to show. In conclusion, I just wanted to hopefully show that you can find a broad selection of assays on our site. You can use those assays to supplement your research, hopefully finding new types of assays that maybe you didn't have access to before or you didn't know about, or externalizing routine assays in a cost-effective manner, and that researchers worldwide are doing that. And we're very proud of that. So with that, I'll take any questions.